I, 26, met my wife, 33, at our flight training school. I could tell right away that she was extremely intelligent and articulate. After she found out she was unable to have children, her first marriage fell apart. Since she was a child, she dreamed she could fly like a superhero. She could see the treetops below her and pretty accurate sky views of the area she lived, but also places around the world she'd never been to. To her, these dreams became a message from fate that she was destined to become an international pilot. Long hours, adventure, and most importantly, flying were her dream. At the age of 26, I was in flight training after getting a bachelor's in transportation. You may be surprised, but by this time, I had already thought very much about whether or not I wanted to have children someday. I was honestly leaning towards no, so I chose a career in travel to emphasize my point. When we started dating and learning all about each other, I suddenly felt like she was my ideal spouse. I thought she was a very unique woman for pursuing this career. We graduated at the same time and got hired at the same airline. I was the happiest I'd ever been on our wedding day. We bought a home in Maryland and began our flight careers. We never flew together, but we were lucky enough to be on the same schedule most of the time. Sometimes we had 4-day-long trips with hotel stays in different states. When we flew international, we could spend anywhere from an hour to 24 hours in a different country. Much of our communication was through cell phone towers across thousands of miles. Time spent together in our Maryland home was what I lived for. Don't get me wrong, I loved traveling, but I looked forward to the time I got to snuggle up with my wife on the couch. You can imagine my dismay and disbelief when she started to distance herself from me. While we were both home, she didn't want to say much to me or be very close. She just got back from a 4-day-long trip that was only supposed to be 2 days. I expected us to be intimate, so I asked her what was going on, why she was being distant, and what happened on her trip. I knew her flight back to the US from Ireland was delayed due to a severe snowstorm, and she was put up in a hotel. What I didn't know, and she now told me, was that she was bored, so she went to an Irish pub. Apparently, she was texting me a little throughout this time, but I was too busy to think she was up to something. A brightly red-haired fellow with a heavy accent greeted her in a very kind and gentlemanly way. While she told me this story, she was extremely uncomfortable. She kept fidgeting and at some point started pacing. I was holding my breath. She started crying uncontrollably when she said she fell for him immediately. She broke down even more as she explained that while she was there, she felt like a totally different person. A woman longing for adventure without anything stopping her. I asked in a soft whisper, "Not even your husband?" Her head dropped and she sat down. She said now that she was home, she regretted her decision to go with him and see his lakeside house. I prodded her for more until she said out loud that they had sex. Immediately after admitting this, she apologized over and over and swore she would never do this to me again. I was in shock. Even though I knew what was coming, I was shocked that she did this to us. It felt like we just bought our house the day before. It felt like our life together was just beginning. Our 4th anniversary was coming up, but she just destroyed everything we started together. I was devastated. I knew I could never trust her again, and at any time she had a layover or randomly felt like it, she could cheat on me. Chances are, she wouldn't tell me next time it happened. I felt taken advantage of. I didn't want to come home to her ever again. I knew she didn't feel like I was worthy of her commitment and loyalty. Adventure and feeling like a different person were more tempting. I told her all of this and then to get out. She tried arguing, but long story short, she only took a little bit to her parents and stayed the night. She kept coming back and I had to keep throwing her out like a boomerang. While she flew planes, her dad got her stuff from the house and I filed for divorce. Before the divorce was final, probably just about 3 months later, she lost her mind. She arranged for another pilot to take her in his small airplane to Ireland. She had no plans to return, resigned from her job, where she only worked for 3.5 years. The worst part was that she didn't tell her parents anything. They were devastated when they found out. They pretty much disowned her, and our divorce was finalized without me having to give her alimony. She made sure to burn all the bridges she had in the US before leaving, which is a shame because she wanted to come back just 1 year later. She left a voicemail for me, and I could tell she was crying. She said she felt like she didn't belong in Ireland after all. It was strange and cold and hard to get a job. AP started mistreating her before he kicked her out. She didn't say if it was because she cheated on him. The point was, she suddenly felt like she belonged back in her Maryland home. At the last minute, she added that she missed me, loved me, and needed me to call her back. She must have thought I was a dumb fool to believe this. She just needed a place to stay in the US, but her parents wouldn't allow her to live with them or even answer her calls. Too bad I missed that phone call and all her future phone calls because I was on a date, flying a plane, or happily moving on with my life. OP, I can't believe your wife left you for a pilot she met on a layover. It doesn't sound like she's all that great at making life decisions. She became a pilot, which takes dedication, but relationship success and dedication is different. There has to be consideration for the other person, and certainly no reckless decisions to cheat. The fact that she was willing to sleep with this man on a whim, just because she was stuck there for a short while, makes me believe she would never remain loyal to a man while he isn't there to watch her. That's just no way to have a relationship. Trust must be established in order for there to be love, and after this situation, there's no way trust could make a comeback. You did the right thing by leaving her and staying apart. If she continued flying and going on trips, you would have always wondered if she was cheating on you. I wish you the best of luck in all your life endeavors, and thank you for sharing this story. Now let's get into our next story for today. I, 28 male, walked to a bar one night after work in Los Angeles, California. I'm a camera operator at Fox Studios. I've worked with several famous actors and actresses. On this particular night, I was hoping to meet a woman. Lo and behold, as soon as I entered, I saw a movie star. Well, a wannabe movie star. When I first sat down by her, she was crying because she was just turned down for a part she really wanted. I bought her a drink and assured her it wouldn't be long until she got her big break. I learned that night that she, 24 female, was currently working as a model for Forever 21 and some other gigs, but her dream was to be in the movies. She'd been in a few small-time films before I met her. When she first came to California, she was 19, staying with her cruel aunt. At an audition, she met another girl in a similar situation. They were able to rent an apartment together. I congratulated her for making it this far. She hadn't met a worser fate. We talked for a while after that, and when I told her I was a camera operator, she was excited. She asked me what my job entailed, and the way I described it made it sound like anyone could do it, but I did make her laugh. We walked back to my car at Fox Studios, and I gave her a ride home. We exchanged numbers and started calling or texting every day until I eventually picked her up for our first official date. Over the next 2 years, she continued her modeling career and a few acting gigs. I continued my daily work, and we continued dating. She'd sleep over sometimes, and each time, I thought about asking her to move in. She just didn't seem ready. She always brought over the bare minimum to stay for the night. One day, while I was working, there was an emergency. One of the main actresses became extremely sick, so they needed a new actress quickly. I immediately, and without hesitation, suggested my girlfriend. She came in right away for an audition, and she nailed it. They loved her. She was ecstatic, and I was too. I got to stare at her and be with her each day of filming for about a year and a half. Upon release, the movie did pretty well in the box office, and it was safe to say my girlfriend was moderately famous. We were pretty much living on cloud 9. Life was just really great. It felt like we were living out our creative dreams and simply got to play all day every day and get paid for it. It was a little difficult at times, but well worth it. One day while we were filming another movie, I saw her male co-star enter her dressing room, supposedly to rehearse. I trusted her. That night, we had plans to go out together, but she told me she was exhausted, so her roommate was coming to pick her up. I was disappointed, but I believed her. It was hard for me to drive away while she waited to be picked up, but it was what she wanted. I got home, got a shower, then I realized I left my phone at my workstation. I went back to the set and heard something in my girlfriend's dressing room. Curiosity got the better of me, so I pressed my ear on the door. It was definitely my girlfriend and another man, but they weren't talking. It was the vocal noises of pleasure. My mind was racing. She never left the set. She wanted to cheat on me. after I let her into my heart and really started planning my future with her. I banged on the door, calling for her to open it. She sounded scared when she told me to hold on. She opened the door in her robe. Without looking at me, she said AP was just leaving and that they were rehearsing. I furiously told her that I heard what they were doing. All I wanted to know was why. She had the nerve to say I was mistaken and nothing happened, but her voice was barely a squeak when she said this. AP looked like he didn't care, but he didn't say anything. I screamed for him to get out because I would have knocked him out. He left, and my vision was just red. My world was crashing down. I loved this girl, but I was wrong to think she loved me or knew how to stay in a committed relationship. Maybe fame got to her head, but it still hurt. I didn't expect it at all. I pulled the ring out of my pocket and showed it to her. She gasped. I said I was wrong about her. She just proved herself to be another sleazy, worthless actress. She choked on her sobs, telling me she wanted to get married. She knew she only got this far because of me. She said the romantic role with AP simply got to her head, but she knew she didn't love him. I told her she could have denied him if she took even a moment to consider us. I told her we were over, but I had to continue filming her for the next 5 months. She would ask me how I was doing and talk to me even when I tried to make myself look busy. Finally, the movie was finished, and I thought I could stop working with her. She was quickly selected for another part. For some reason, several other camera operators Fox had assigned to this upcoming movie quit. The studio was down me and 2 other people, with me being the most experienced. I didn't want to work with my ex anymore. I heavily considered resigning from the studio and getting a job somewhere else. I decided to talk to my boss about it, but when I said what I was thinking, he begged to know why. I told him honestly what was bothering me. Without hesitation, he told me they would replace her. He simply couldn't afford to lose me for this movie. In addition to firing her, he offered me a raise. I was extremely happy and surprised. That night, I slept like a baby. The next morning, I was off work, but my ex contacted me when she found out she was fired for causing stress to coworkers. She was really upset and even got mad at me because I complained about her. I told her I was willing to quit, but the boss said he would rather lose her than me. She didn't take that very well, but it didn't matter to me. I was free, and she was stupid. I knew I did the right thing, even before I met my future wife, just 2 months after that. OP, you gave this woman the opportunity of a lifetime, not just because of the acting roles, but because you trusted her and were willing to take care of her. You both seem to have a very close relationship, so it's a shame she couldn't separate acting from reality. She lost a genuinely good and real relationship, and the sad thing is that she immediately regretted it. Still, she lied to you and said she was going home, but instead met with AP. She had plenty of time to realize this was inappropriate and dishonest. You made the right decision to break up and stay broken up, even though you had to continue seeing her for so long. It must have been very difficult to finish out that movie. It's wonderful that faith was on your side. Thank you for sharing this story with us. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.